So tonight it's everything Buckeyes. Grab a drink and join us on tonight's tailgate. All right, well, thanks everybody for joining us another episode of the Tailgate. As always, I am Luke.
I'm Michael.
I'm Dennis.
And tonight we have a very special guest from JuckonBucks. We've got Juck himself. My friend, how you doing today?
Really good, gentlemen. How you guys doing?
Doing well. Very well, very well. So,
all right.
We've got Ohio State. Not a lot going on with them this offseason, right? I mean, it's been a very quiet offseason. Not much to talk about.
Really, not a lot going on, as you'd expect. Just the normal.
Nothing to look forward to. It's just
no offseason championships, as some other people would like to say too.
Oh yeah.
People normally forget about Ohio State after they keep losing to Michigan, so can't blame them.
Well, we'll see how the season goes, and I guarantee you it's going to go a lot better than. Well, I think it's going to go a lot better than it has in the past 3 years. So
I think we all kind of hope for that, man. Like Ohio State.
Honestly, as we talked about before, like it's one of those things. Like based upon what actually has happened in the off season so far, better.
Yeah.
Yep. So John, yeah. So tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you become an Ohio State fan? What led you to be who you are today?
Yeah. Absolutely. So I kind of grew up, as a youngster, and my family was more of a Notre Dame family, and it just didn't make sense to me. I wanted to root for the guys that said Ohio. That's what made sense, and that's how I started as a very young fella. And just kind of something I've always loved. It's just been my number one thing outside of my family. And maybe about 6 months ago, I was kicking around maybe starting a show, and the gentleman sitting to your right there talked me into doing it. So here we are.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Looking at your set and knowing the what I know about you and becoming a little bit of online friends, I guess what it was, trying to picture the gold and green behind you just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. See it? I mean, I don't know what jersey you'd have. So
I can see it. I totally can see it.
So, but no, we're glad to have another Ohio State fan.
Yeah, I feel
I guess that only makes one of us, man.
Only need one.
I guess you're right about that. I know with a lot of, a few changes going on in Ohio State. How's the coaching staff kind of going on? I know Chip Kelly was definitely a big hire. Yeah, Chip Kelly, obviously a massive hire. I mean, it's pretty much unprecedented what happened there, right? I mean, I don't think we'll ever see that again. A Power 5 coach in conference going to another team to take a step down and be the coordinator. But for Chip, I mean, you see him at practice, he's bouncing around, pep in his steps, smile on his face. The way this worked out with Bill O'Brien getting the Boston College job after being there for 2 weeks, and then in that time frame, Chip not getting the job up at Seattle, it was just so perfect. It couldn't have been any better. And when you see Ryan Day talking about the coaching staff, he refers to everybody by their first name, still calls Chip Kelly coach, which is an interesting little tidbit. The amount of respect he has for Chip and the amount of ease that you can just see in him when it comes to Chip handling the offense. And I think this would really be a very stressful season for Day, giving up the play calling.
Sure.
It just very much seems like he's so at ease with this situation. Mm-hmm. And obviously we as fans are very much excited to see what happens here. Getting Day out of that role of play caller and head coach, being able to focus more at the end of games for some better in-game execution, clock management, some things he struggled with, quite frankly, and it's just really exciting all the way around. And that's not even talking about what we're looking forward to with Chip, what he can do with these offensive pieces he has. It's just insane.
Sure.
No, I mean, I agree. I think actually for Ohio State as a whole, especially Chip Kelly, for not just Chip Kelly, but for Ryan Day, you couldn't got any better. I know him and Ryan Day and Chip Kelly both have a long history of working actually side by side one another. So kind of relinquishing, the offensive play calling definitely was probably bit of a, like you said, it was a kind of a hard step, but it definitely was one of, I feel like, easier to take because of that.
Yeah, for sure.
Question for the running back coach. Honestly, I was a little surprised for them to get a running back coach. I thought it was just going to be just Chip Kelly just kind of managing all the skill players for the most part. With Carlos
Lachlan.
Yeah, Coach Lachlan. Yeah. They hit a home run with that one, Dennis. That guy, he is, he's not someone I was familiar with before they hired him, to be quite honest with you. I mean, I don't know that anybody outside of Oregon was. He'd only been a coach for 3 years, essentially.
Yeah.
And, talk about a guy with some juice. I mean,
Sure.
this guy, he's a rock star. When you see him on the stage, I mean, he is a rock star.
Yeah, I think when Coach Alford, Trader, whatever we want to call him, when he left, I was really high on DeMarco Murray. I loved him out of Oklahoma. He kind of pulled a little Gundy there and got a nice little raise from his alma mater and the place he was at. So he used that to his advantage. But
Sure.
I was with you. Like when Lachlan was hired, it was like, okay, I feel like this is kind of Day's B-level guys, kind of his second go. But as I've watched him, it seems like the whole team, the running backs, like everybody has really just kind of rallied around him, and he seems to be doing a great job.
So there's a guy, what I really love about Lachlan, guys, is he is really wanting to bring some physicality back into the position. And there is a dude down in your neck of the woods named Shakai Mills-Knight. And he is a recruit like we haven't had in a long time that Lachlan is kind of targeted on. We're talking about maybe a little bit lower rated guy than Ohio State's used to. And essentially they've just been going after the prototype for a while now. 5'10", 5'11", 210 pounds. This is a bigger boy now. This is a big dude, and he's ready to bring the pain. He runs physical. He's nasty, and I think that Lachlan is going to try to maybe get one of these types of guys every other class, along with the prototype back to kind of bring a little more of that physicality. It's something that I didn't realize how much I missed it until I started thinking about it when he started getting on this guy. I was like, man, yes, let's get some more of that back. I love it.
Yeah, we down here in Tennessee watching the Titans, we have Derrick Henry. Well, we had Derrick Henry to watch, so that was kind of a little bit of that pounding physical style, but definitely haven't seen that at Ohio State for a while.
Ironically, probably since Eddie George.
Yeah, I mean, you could probably throw Carlos Hyde in there. Going back, some of those guys, but I mean, as a star, yeah, George is probably one of the last ones. Kind of sticking with the coaches, I think there's two guys. One of the things that I've been thinking about was Hartline as the receivers coach. Now, obviously, Day last year gave him that offensive coordinator title, but never really, that was kind of like a placeholder, kind of keep him here, get him a little bit more money. I thought personally he might start ushering him in as a play caller. Never really seemed to happen. Do you think Hartline is going to stick around for a couple years? Do you think he'll get a head coaching position somewhere else? Obviously, it probably wouldn't be a big place, but yeah.
This is something I've been thinking about recently, quite a bit. And I mean, for starters, I was wondering at first, was there going to be any animosity from Hartline with bringing in Chip Kelly? After we heard him talk about Chip Kelly, it seems pretty clear to me that not at all. He is excited for the opportunity to learn under him. And Hartline is obviously, we all know, a rising star in the business. And I feel like the way he's taken his time, he's taken quite a bit more time than I thought he would to try to kind of move up the ranks.
Yep.
And I was thinking, though, this has got to be his last 2-year contract. It's got to be. I just can't see him sticking around much longer than that. I think we've already been really fortunate to hang on to him as long as we have.
Yeah, it's been amazing what he's done with our receivers. I mean, we just need a little bit better quarterback to get those receivers the ball a little bit more, which will kind of pull us into our next question for you. For me, when I look at last year's team, and the biggest questions on the team, on the position groups, are the offensive line and the quarterback. I think coming from last year, those are going to be the big ones. Obviously, I'll start with the line here. obviously in the offseason, Ohio State brought in Seth McLaughlin. I can never say that name. McLaughlin.
McLaughlin.
That one's like I'd say like I got phlegm in there. I can never get it out. But they bring him in from Alabama. Obviously, some questions with him being the cause of that 4th and 31 in the Iron Bowl. He had some poor snaps against Michigan there in the playoffs. How is that offensive line looking? How is Seth? How's he in there?
So for starters, the 4th and 31 at the Auburn game, I did see some footage recently that somebody from Auburn ran up and did the old clap and got her to do that. See, that one wasn't all on him. Now the Michigan ones, I got no excuse. However,
sure,
he seems to be have worked through that issue. Perfect. But I don't know if maybe that's just a big stage thing for him or not. We'll find out. But the big news, I think, with him is he has most likely won that starting role from Carson Hinsman. And the offensive line, the left side's looking great with Josh Simmons and Donovan Jackson both playing the best ball of their lives. Seth McLaughlin, obviously a solid starter. The snapping thing is the only potential issue with him. And then on the right side, it looked like Luke Montgomery was going to be the guy they were grooming for that right guard position up until just a week before the spring game. And then they kind of switched it all around. And we came out in the spring game and we saw Tevin Shabula and Carson Hinsman both play before Luke Montgomery at right guard, which kind of took us all by surprise. And now it seems like maybe they're back to square one at right guard with Josh Fryer at right tackle. So I've kind of been photo watching and seeing if there are any potential options that maybe they could bring in. But right now they're looking for a plug-and-play guy, if they're looking for someone, in fact. And there hasn't been anybody who can walk in and beat any of those guys out, in my estimation, yet in the portal. It's been pretty slim pickings, to be quite honest. So I don't know what they're going to do yet over there. When we talk about the weak spots of the team, that's the biggest question mark. It's the biggest weak spot. And Justin Fry, the offensive line coach, in my estimation, is the one weak spot on the coaching staff, just to be quite frank. So, it's still a big question mark for me.
Gotcha. Well, yeah, and that's obviously important when you're looking at bringing in a quarterback who, honestly, even with Devin Brown, has not played much behind, on the Ohio State offense. I honestly, when we were looking at the quarterbacks, I really figured, now, as of right now, when we're recording, no Ohio State quarterback has entered the portal. I thought we'd see at least 2, maybe even possibly hitting a third, as you've got Will Howard and Devin Brown, in my opinion, kind of fighting for that starting role. You've got Noland and Sayin kind of fighting for that, who's the future of the team. And then you've got Keinholz, who I think is a great quarterback, who's kind of in no man's land. So I really thought that one of the top guys, either Howard or Brown would leave, Sayin or Noland would leave, and maybe Keinholz. What are you seeing in those quarterbacks? Who's kind of stepping up in your opinion? Who are you seeing kind of fell to the back of the pack? What's going on with the quarterbacks there?
So if we're talking about freshmen, Aaron Noland is considerably behind Julian Sayin. And that's not a knock on Aaron Noland, but Julian Sayin is just one of these guys who started really young with a quarterback coach, and he's just kind of a savant, really. Yeah. He's way ahead of where a normal freshman would be. So no knock on Noland. Well, it's very good. He did really good in the spring game. But Sayin's just kind of next level. Maybe kind of the type of quarterback you might see one out of every 3 classes, where there's a couple Aaron Nolands every class. Just a special young dude. Lincoln Keels, when you talk about somebody transferring, he was the guy that I thought would most likely maybe try to find somewhere else to fit in.
Sure.
But I feel like now I don't think so, to be quite honest. And when we talk about the 2 guys at the top, myself, Luke, I've gone back and forth with this like 10 times as to who I'd like to see be the guy here. But really, I think when it boils down to it, I feel like this team can win with either one of those guys.
Sure.
And I'm happy that we're waiting and taking their time. My initial thought was, I don't want them to come out of spring ball and do the same thing they did with McCord and Devin, and just let this thing drag on, have them both looking over their shoulder, kind of pressing. But I feel like the dynamic between Will Howard and Devin is different. than it was with McCord and Devin, and I don't feel like that's going to be so much of an issue if they kind of let this play out. I also have a whole lot more faith with Chip Kelly involved in the decision here, in the way this is going to go. And when we talk about Justin Fry and the offensive line, I should say that I also have more faith in the offensive line play with Chip Kelly there as well. He's kind of like this great eraser, you know. When you got a guy as brilliant as him, and when we're talking about offense, in all aspects of offense, he can scheme around any weak spot you got, and that's all he's got to do, man. That's all he's working on. It's just it makes me feel at ease with a lot of the warts that are on the offense, and there's not many, but there's a few.
Yeah, sure, that makes total sense, and that. I'm with you. Like, Chip Kelly is the one kind of calming factor. And you took the words out of my mouth with, I don't want to repeat of last year. Sooner than later, I'd like them to kind of say, here's the guy that we're rolling with. He's going to get the first team reps, and we're gonna move on from there. Now, one of the guys that I'm high on, and I'm going to ask you who you're high on, who you're looking forward to. I'm honestly, Hero Canoe is probably one of my favorite guys. I love him. Not only does he have a great name, but he just seems like he's poised to kind of come in after the starters and just kind of terrorize the backfield as kind of that second wave. So I'm predicting him to have kind of that breakout year and just kind of make a name for himself, even though he already has the name for himself. But who's that guy that you're looking to? Who's that guy that you're really looking forward to see play this year?
Yeah, for me, I do love Hero Canoe as well, and an awesome story as well. This guy's he's from Germany, from a 200-person village in Germany. So a really interesting story and a cool dude, always a huge smile on his face. But Mitchell Melton is a guy that we really saw bust out in the spring game in a way I wasn't figuring. We talked about the second wave of the defensive line. It's deeper than it's ever been at Ohio State. And I mean, in my lifetime, I've never seen a defensive line that goes so deep as this one does, which, to be quite honest, when we talk about the good Ohio State teams that have lost to the great SEC teams in the championships and in the playoffs, I have always believed that the difference has been the defensive line. Ohio State now has a defensive line that can rival those, and I think that's going to be the biggest difference in this team. And Mitchell Melton is a guy who's going to be one of them on the end, second wave guy, and he is every bit as good as anybody's starter in the country, in my opinion. The guy is fantastic, but really, really out of nowhere. He's coming off an injury, and the improvement he's made in the first step. I mean, the dude's just fantastic.
Awesome.
Yeah. So what's the big news that you're hearing come out of Columbus right now?
Well, not a ton of news right now.
There's always
kind of hitting
that's a
that big wall where I'm kind of digging for news to talk.
What's going on?
It's bad for a show, but it's good for the team.
Yeah.
I guess I would say the biggest news right now is that we've only seen two guys enter the transfer portal.
Yeah.
In Dallin Hayden, a guy that we all really like.
Yeah.
Why
Colorado? I mean, it's just amazing.
Money.
It's amazing. I have no idea what he's doing. And by the way, they just lost Dylan Edwards. So he was their 36th guy that has exited now. 36 guys. And Dallin Hayden just walked into that mess. Mm-hmm. I can't believe he did that. I wasn't upset that he transferred. I thought he got a really crappy deal, and I was hoping he would go somewhere that would, treat him well, and he would get what he deserved, because I really like the dude.
As a Tennessee,
that is not what I was rooting for.
As a Tennessee fan, we were hoping that he was gonna, because he has a legacy. Like his dad played with us, so we were kind of like, hey, we've got some depth in our running back room, but we still we can always use some just additional depth, and like Tennessee loves to run three running backs consistently throughout a game.
So I thought he was going to probably go to University of Memphis. Sure. Getting money from FedEx and everything. I was like, he could be bought out there.
Yeah, true. So,
but yeah, Colorado. When he went to Colorado, a makeshift offensive line. Dion, who calls out his players in the middle of the season. He's Dion, in my opinion. I love Dion, the player, but the coach, he's getting his sons to the NFL. That's what he's doing. That's really all he's worried about right now. So it was a big question. And then when their running back left, it was just, it's crazy. It's great.
I couldn't be happier about it, Luke, to be quite honest. We have these people come in our sport, that aren't college football fans, and then Dion comes aboard. You get all the hype. All these people come in that aren't college football fans and start telling us what Colorado's about to do. And I'm like, all right, man, I hope this flames so hard so I can laugh them back out on their way. And that's what's happening. So goodbye.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. Even if they get the same increase that they did last year, they're like a 7-win team this year?
Yeah.
I feel like it's pretty optimistic, but
It's very optimistic. That's if they do the same thing as they did last year. I don't even see them getting to halfway in their conference.
Well, yeah. Well, so speaking of records,
Okay.
we're gonna go there. What do you think is? I mean, you can give us your homer pick. You can give us your super realistic pick. But what do you think is your floor, your ceiling? What do you think is what you guys?
Those might be the same thing.
They could be the same thing. I'm just prefacing it.
Yeah. Honestly, I think this team is gonna play very well together. They don't got a tough game till game 6, and that's in Eugene, Oregon. And that's going to be the only one that I see that they could potentially lose this year. So my floor is 11-1. My ceiling is a 12-0 regular season, and that's just what it is. Dennis, I don't want to hear from you about Michigan.
I'm just saying, 4 times, sometimes it happens,
So the only question that I ask anybody that talks about Michigan is, did you watch their spring game?
Did you we're allowed to stay playing Michigan at the end of the season? That's where usually our teams are much better.
They were a very physical team, according to all of the ESPN fawning media.
According to all Michigan fans, Ohio State not tackling in a preseason game and a preseason scrimmage is just another opinion of why we're soft. I think you have said it before that Orgy is like a running back who's playing quarterback, and then Grayson from the Scarlet and Blue show the other day, he said, which I loved, it was like he's a tight end. Yeah. He's a tight end. That's what he is, and
it's like Milton.
Yeah, either one of them. Well, he's like Milton, but he's not.
What I'm saying is like Milton is not a quarterback,
right?
Like he was very much a tight end. He's the size of a tight end. And he shouldn't have been where he was at. So
I just want to say real quick, this dude's got nowhere near the arm Milton had even. I mean,
well, this is true. I feel like only few people has that arm. So, but anybody has the accuracy of Milton.
Well,
true.
But yeah, so we try to get that accuracy, but
I personally, and I'll say it now, I don't think the Michigan Ohio State game's even close. I think we get to the end of that year. I'll go ahead and say it. I think we get to the end of the year, and I'm normally not somebody to be this confident. We're 2 scores. 2 scores.
2 scores.
2 scores.
Like 2 field goals? Like you're saying 2 scores, or like
I'm not going to practice right now, but 2 scores. That's what I'm going to call against Michigan.
So I would love to be able to just have you guys both on call for that. We're going to see that. We're going to see when it comes to that time.
Well, yeah, we'll watch that game together.
I'm looking forward to it. Beginning of December, I'll be like just big old smile versus you guys.
Well, Juck, any
I see that, Juck.
any parting words for certain individuals, or just anything to say about Ohio State as we go?
I've gotten myself in enough trouble talking about Michigan on other people's podcasts in the last couple of weeks, so I'll just keep it to the Buckeyes. This team, the defense is maybe going into the season the second best defense I can recall of my lifetime.
Yeah.
And we've all seen great Ohio State defenses, so that's obviously a huge compliment. I really believe that the ingredients are all there for a national championship, and it's just going to be a matter of chemistry and how fast they can get that chemistry together. My pick is the Buckeyes are going to win it all. And that's that. Maybe twice in my life have I felt that way going into a season. I just got that super confident feeling, just perfect to get your heart broken. Yeah. But that's the way I'm feeling about it.
I mean, anything less, that it's going to be a fail.
It'll feel that way. And for those of you who want to go see Juck rant on Michigan, Go check out when he was on Scarlet and Blue, the Scarlet and Blue show. He has one of the best rants that I've seen on both Ohio State and Michigan at the end of that show. So go check that out. Juck, obviously, we can find you on YouTube, JuckonBucks. You're also on all the podcast platforms there. Twitter. What's your handle on Twitter? Is it JuckonBucks as well?
At JuckonBucks on Twitter.
Man,
Easy. Same thing on point down.
And Juck's pretty unique, so yeah, it was easy to get that.
And it rhymes. It's perfect.
yeah.
He's the Ohio, Dr. Seuss of Ohio, man.
Well, yeah.
Perfect. Well, hey, man, we appreciate you being on. Thanks so much. And OH.
Yeah.
All right. See you.
See ya.